Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PSBlue podcast for when you run out of other gaming podcasts and need to listen to two cousins bicker with each other. I'm Anthony, and without further ado, here is my co-host, Vinny. How are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Anthony. A hair sunburnt, but, getting through that. What about you? You doing all right?
I'm good. Just kind of a busy week for me. Sounds like it was a busy week for both of us, but I'm just really happy that we've stuck with this, and we are in my opinion, at the most crucial juncture. We are exactly 1 month into recording. For those of you who don't know, there's an episode 0. So episode 3 is actually our 4th episode. 1 month in. How do you feel about the podcast so far?
Feel really good, really good. Like I said last week, we're learning with each episode, and we're taking the good, we're taking the bad too, and just kind of pushing forward with that. And it's a lot of fun, though. I think that this is. I hope I could speak for you when I say this is fun for both of us, for sure.
Yeah, I've enjoyed myself a lot. What I haven't enjoyed, talking about the bad, we're having some technical issues sort of every episode. For some reason, your mic sounded awesome in the last 3 episodes, and my mic sounded like terrible. So I got a new mic. I hope that resolves the issue. We're trying to get rid of some of the background noise too. So just keep looking out for the audio quality to improve. We're working on it. Anyway, have you played anything fun this past week, or just some of the same things you've been playing?
So, for your consideration, as we discussed last week, my game has been Deathloop. That has been pretty much the only game that I've been playing. Nothing additional, some mobile games that I'm very ashamed to talk about on the podcast, so I won't get into those. But a lot of Deathloop for sure, and I'm excited to talk about that one.
Yeah, same old for me. Just been playing hockey. Shout out to the Rangers. We forced Game 7 tonight. I'm very nervous, so that'll be fun against the Carolina Hurricanes. Very anxious for that. But anyway, let's get back on track. So for today's episode, we have some talking points that are pretty interesting. We're going to discuss roller champions and Rocket League wannabes, Jedi Survivor, Thor, Love and Thunder, PS5 lesser talked about features, Forspoken, and Modern Warfare 2 release date. At the end of the episode, I'm also going to review Celeste. So without further ado, actually, before we get into this, Vinny, why don't you go ahead and tell us the quote of last week's episode, since you were so excited to share it with us?
That's right, Anthony, our highest honor on the podcast. That is the quote of last week's episode. Goes to Anthony this week, and it was something that, upon listening to it a second time, it jumped out to me, leaped off the page, if you will. Let me go ahead and read this quote of last week's episode. Anthony says, "Hockey is just such a fun sport to play that it sort of transcends the EA stink." Very poetic, very well put. Anthony, what are your thoughts on that quote? Do you have anything to add? What's your overall takeaway there?
I stand by what I said. The EA stink is a real thing, but I've always loved hockey. I played it as a kid growing up, and no matter what, it's going to be fun. I took a break from the hockey games, so it's a guilty pleasure for sure, but it's a good game. It's a fun game. But that quote that you decided to go with for this week actually catapulted us into one of our talking points, which is the diminishing returns in sports gaming. Now, let me just go ahead and lay some of this out on the line really fast. So Madden 22 has a Metacritic score of 68 and a user score of 0.6. Obviously, there's some non-response bias in there, but there is 511 reviews, 511 unhappy people at this game. We go to Madden 21, a 63 on Metacritic, 0.3 user review, 5,700 reviews. NHL 22, the game that I'm playing right now, Metacritic score of 71, user score of 4.4. The iteration before that, same thing. Metacritic 72, user 2.2, which is even worse. FIFA, the golden standard for video games, the game that started it all as far as Ultimate Team, which is really, in my opinion, where the stink starts and ends. FIFA is now in the 70s. with a Metacritic score of 78 and a user score of 2.6. There are other soccer games out there now that are competing for the number one spot from FIFA. FIFA 21 had a user score of 0.8 with 2,100 reviews. And this is just from Metacritic. It has been known for a very long time that EA's quality of sports games has been on the steady decline. Vinny, I'm going to toss it over to you. Those are the stats. Why don't you give us some more of the passionate part of this discussion?
This is near and dear to my heart because, and I know it is for you because me and you, we've played sports games together in the past. Sure. And it's really sad to see this sort of discrepancy between the critical reviews and the user reviews. I will say this. I think we are finally, maybe, I don't even want to say this. We might be getting to a point where the critics are starting to agree. We might be. And I say this because, yeah, and one thing that kind of jumped out to me, I think this was a few years back, was when FIFA for Switch got, I want to say like a 2 on IGN, like a disgraceful review. And if you get a 2 on IGN, if you get a 2 on IGN, it means that your game is, my God. I mean, if you can't get a 7 on that website, it's
That's
probably
all they give
a
is
terrible
7s and
game.
8s.
It's just 7s and 8s. Yeah, I know, over and over again. And it just really is sad. And let me just say this about your quote, by the way, that I kind of just thought of as you were speaking. Can you imagine an NHL commercial, and you know how they put quotes of their games bragging about, here's what critics have to say? Anthony's quote,
Yeah.
Could you imagine this quote? Hockey is just, this is a positive quote. This is a positive quote. Hockey is just such a fun sport to play that it sort of transcends the EA stink. Could you imagine that quote popping up on the screen for a commercial?
Wow.
That's where my mind went with this. As you
Listen,
were talking, I was like, man, what a great, yeah, go ahead.
if they want to have like a greatest hits version of NHL 22 and they want to use my quote, they have full like control of that quote if they want to use it. Just putting it out there.
It's such a good quote. I think it's very positive. Like you said, it's very positively said and very poetic. But I think one of the big issues, and I always go back to this because I'm one of those just sad players that buys Madden every year, and I don't know why I do it. I didn't buy last year's. That was the first time, I think, in about 9-10 years that I didn't buy the previous Madden. I think one of the biggest issues is there's just this monopoly with these sports games. There's no other football games other than Madden. The developers do not have access to make these games. I think that the way to potentially solve this issue lies there. It's giving the access to these maybe indie developers. I don't know, smaller studios that would actually pour their hearts into these games, not just a tiny update that doesn't really do anything, essentially a roster update, which is what all these are. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because I think every single one of those games you talked about, all the new ones every year, roster update, maybe 2 or 3 new mechanics. And that's it. That's all you get. And, by the way, here are these Ultimate Team stuff that we're just going to throw in your face constantly because $70 isn't enough for us. We need more of your money. We need as much money as we can get. Yeah.
Let's talk about Ultimate Team. Have you played Ultimate Team in any of the Madden games?
No. So I haven't gone in depth with them. I went into one. I think I went into Ultimate Team maybe a few years back. Obviously, just to try it out. I think it was relatively new at that point, so it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And it just, like you said, man, it had that stench of, oh gosh, these card packs. And the worst part about this is these are card packs that people are paying for that are only good for a year. They're only good until the next Madden. Then the next Madden, you restart the cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. And like the mode is, I know someone that plays Ultimate Team, and from what I've heard, it's pay to win. Essentially, you go up against somebody that pays for these packs. They're going to beat your ass. I mean,
played
that's
it.
the way they go.
I played it too. I played it. I want to say it was Madden 19. I got really into Ultimate Team, just really into it. And I'm on the auction house trying to buy new players to like upgrade my quarterback or upgrade my wide receiver, this and that and the other. And it's sort of addictive because your overall starts off at like 68, and then you slowly add players and your overall goes up and up and up. And in addition to playing people online, you can also do single player, what's the word? There's like single player challenges, let's say. So it was fun in that way, like growing my team and going through these harder challenges. The problem for me is I didn't put money into it. And when I played online against other people, everybody had 99 overall everything. And it's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. And then there's contracts. Did you know about this?
No, it already sounds bad.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but I'm sure there's a different way of calling it now if it's not called contracts. But what it is essentially the cards that you get in the game, you can't even use the entire time. You have to buy more contracts and renew the contracts on the cards. Tell me that's not ridiculous.
Wow. That is so that just makes it even worse, you know.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Did you ever feel compelled at all to spend money when you were playing?
Course.
You
Of
did?
course.
You did?
But
Did you ever
the
give in?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Oh, believe me, I've spent, a ton of money on Hearthstone before I stopped liking that game. And there are games where I have paid money to get new cards and stuff like that. So no shame in that whatsoever. I mean, there's a little shame in that, but I've done it, just not in Madden. That was like the last Madden I really played. I think I had Madden 20, but I don't think I really played it. I think I got it like when it was on sale when Madden 21 had come out, and I just wanted to see what was up, and I stopped playing right around there. I remember Antonio Brown was on the cover. That was like the last one I played. But anyway, we don't want to keep the non-sports games players, on the hook too much longer for for this. Because if you don't play Madden, we're speaking gibberish, and this is just super boring, I'm sure. Do you have anything else to say about this topic, Vinny?
Well, even to those that don't play Madden, that don't play sports games, I think this is very relevant to those, to those other games. I just do, because based on the amount of money that these developers are making, that EA makes off of FIFA, that EA makes off of Madden, right? These sports games are just endless revenue for these companies.
Exactly.
And it's sad because, some of the other studios, thank goodness, I think it's kind of trickled into some of our other, first-party single-player games that are, historically single-player, right? I think that these things are very relevant to just the gaming industry as a whole. It's just really sad, and the hope is that this changes. And let me ask you one last question before we get off this topic, but do you see this ever ending? Do we see any sort of light at the end of the tunnel with sports games? Because I'll tell you what, I do not. I just don't. I don't. I really don't.
I mean, let's compare it. We'll move away from specifics. We'll just talk in more general terms. You open up the game, and like you said, the first thing you see is buy a new card, buy one get one free card pack for this or that or whatever. It's so intrusive, and they wouldn't do it anymore if it didn't work. So clearly it works. Clearly it's a problem. The solution to the problem, as you already said, is to create competition within the world of sports gaming. Now, that's kind of hard when EA has a monopoly on the NFL license. They have a contractual stranglehold on the quote-unquote simulation sports in the NFL world, so to speak. FIFA, if you look at FIFA and soccer, there are other soccer games that are starting to challenge FIFA. There's Pro Evolution Soccer, and there's another one I can't think of off the top of my head. But these are games that I don't play. I read on video games a lot, and I see it. They're trying to challenge them, and in this respect, competition is a good thing. Now, I'm just gonna go right out and say it. If you don't like it, don't buy the game, because they're just gonna keep doing it. Which brings me up to my next point. Sort of similar, but a little bit different. I'm talking free-to-play, games as a service, multiplayer games. A new game called Roller Champions just came out, and I downloaded it this morning and gave it a whirl, and it was fun. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say it wasn't fun. It's pretty much you are on roller skates. You have a jump button, a tackle button, and a dodge button. You are supposed to get a ball, and it's a 3-on-3 game, and you have to do one full lap around a track. And if you do the lap, you can put the ball. It's like a dodgeball ish thing. You can put it through a goal, and you score a goal. If you do 2 laps, you get 3 points. If you do 3 laps before you score, you get 5 points and end the game. Whatever. Blah 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 blah. So this game is cool idea. Very interesting, but it's just trying to be the next Rocket League. And the thing that really caught me off guard is when you click into it, card pack, buy our card pack, buy our what are they called? You might know since you're a disgusting Fortnite player. It's like a
Battle
season.
Pass?
What is it called, Vinny? It's like a season pass.
Battle Pass.
Battle Pass. That's the word. Battle Pass. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk to us about that Battle Pass? Talk to me. This is all foreign to me.
With regards to this topic, this game Roller Champions, you sent me a link just to, and I watched some videos on this. I watched a few videos on Roller Champions, and I feel like the game looks pretty good. I'll be honest with you. It's a free-to-play game. I think that there's a fine line for these games that they just need to be very careful with the way that they present their business model to players. For example, when you log into that game and you see a card pack, that's the first thing that you see. That's very unappealing to a gamer. That to me is a huge red flag. It's like, okay, great. What is this? Some kind of that's why I don't like playing mobile games all too often. I'll play some, but not really all too often. Usually the mobile games that I'll play is I pay for them and then I don't have to worry about any sort of microtransactions. Sure. And those are my ideal types of games. But I think that, like you said, Rocket League has kind of changed the game here for free to play. Fortnite, another one. Apex Legends is massive. Call of Duty Warzone is free to play. And I'll tell you what, I play Call of Duty Warzone, and that game is just nonstop trying to take my money. I can't even go into the store because it's really a nightmare. The game is actually really good. Like it's good gameplay, but man, they really do shove, please buy our packs, buy these things, right? It's very prevalent in these free-to-play games, but back to the discussions of a battle pass. I think a battle pass is the best way that we see right now that's available to us for a free-to-play model. I don't have any sort of negative connotations to a battle pass. I really don't think of any negative connotations to a battle pass. I know maybe you do, maybe you haven't. Have you ever, let me ask you this, have you ever bought a battle pass before, Anthony?
No. I think I understand the general concept. Let's just clear it up for those of us like me who don't understand it. I think I might understand it. Isn't it like you can progress to the battle pass, like progress through the battle pass, I should say. There's rewards along the way, and if you decide you want to buy into the battle pass, you get all the rewards that you've already achieved. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so there's an initial price point, so $10 for, let's say, a Fortnite Battle Pass, right? And then there's tiers that you would kind of go through as you play the game. So tier 1, obviously, tier 2, tier 3, all the way up to, let's say, 100, right? Maybe that particular Battle Pass, but it's based on your experience, right, with the game.
But you can
so
make progress.
Maybe you play, yeah, and you make
without
progress.
buying.
Now, there are free versions of a battle pass. Now, here's where things
this is
get a little
getting
tricky.
confusing now.
Yeah, I know, right? Hold on. I assure you, though. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me interject for a second. I thought you could make progress through the battle pass, whatever season it was. Oh, this is so confusing. But I thought you could make progress through it, and then let's say, okay, I got to the 5th tier. I'm ready to cash in now, and then you buy the battle pass and get all the previous. No, is that not how it works?
You could do that if you chose. If I'm playing a game and I don't want to buy the battle pass, I'm not interested, right, but I just so happen to play that game a ton, right? You are still technically progressing through the battle pass during that time frame.
Yes.
You just are not getting any of those rewards. Now, you can also Yeah,
You
and
could buy it
you
and
could
get
buy the
those
battle
rewards,
pass.
right? And
Exactly.
get
Yeah, you could buy the
okay, that
battle
makes
pass
sense.
and it'll give you everything.
Who
Yeah,
wouldn't?
yeah.
Who wouldn't? If I'm playing this game for free for, 500 hours and I've made all this progress to buy all this stuff retroactively, all I have to do is shell out $25. Who's not going to do that for a game that they love? It's to me, it's sort of what's the word? Uh it's sort of advantageous, I think. I think they're taking advantage of this situation. I think it's a business model that is clearly predatory toward kids and younger people. And the other thing that really drives me absolutely up a wall is the loot box system. That's literally a legal form of gambling for children, and it should be removed from every single game. It's disgusting, or at least the ability to buy them should be removed from the game. It's it's a game within a game, and the psychology of it really is addictive. And I think that they know that, and the fact that they don't stop it is very selfish and greedy, in my opinion.
I'm in complete agreement there. And to go back to our original topic, which was the diminishing term returns of, sports games, I think that another way that those sports games would, maybe get a little better is if they made these loot boxes illegal. Imagine if Madden couldn't even do the Ultimate Team anymore, right? Or at least
Right.
charge money for the card packs. That's actually something that we didn't even discuss, but that's a huge aspect of how we can make these games better, because I'm in complete agreement. I do think that loot boxes are predatory. I don't think there's any argument there. I do think that Battle Pass is a little bit more approachable from a consumer standpoint. I've purchased tons of Battle Passes. As you're probably aware, I played Fortnite for a good while when that was out. I think I bought an Apex Battle Pass as well. And those are $10 every 4 months or so. You can't spend thousands of dollars within a battle pass, if that makes any sense. There's not really a way to get
Yeah.
additional funds other than that $10 price point, which is, it's typically $10-15. You get 4 months worth of, of data for a free to play of battle pass. For a free to play game, if you think about it, if I buy, let's say there's, I don't know, 3 seasons in a year, maybe 4 seasons in a year, probably 4. Battle Pass is $10 every season. You're spending $40 on a free-to-play game. That to me is, especially if it's a game that you're pouring dozens or likely hundreds of hours if you're buying all these Battle Passes. I think that's definitely a win-win proposition for developers and the gamers, because I don't know about you, but I mean, I'll play free-to-play games, and I kind of want to at least, if it's a game that I particularly enjoy, you want to give the developers something. They need something to keep this game afloat, so to speak, right? If they're of high quality and they're really well made, and maybe my friends are playing it and I really actively enjoy it, I think it can definitely be a good thing to give these developers money. I don't think that you shouldn't. You should refrain it. I don't think that's a bad thing, for sure. Fall Guys is another one. That's a great free-to-play game. I don't know if you played that, but that's a
That
wonderful
game's not
game.
free to play.
Oh,
Is it?
I haven't spent any money on Fall Guys.
Well, it was
it
free
is actually
on PlayStation.
it's funny
Plus.
that you say this, or that we bring this up, because they did announce that it is fully free to play. It's coming out on Xbox and Switch, I believe, in the next few months. This must have happened a few weeks ago, so actually very very relevant
Why
because they
won't
literally just announced it.
why don't people want to pay to play video games anymore? I think that I completely disagree. You should just want to pay for these games. If we go back to the previous model, right, where it's and we'll stick to just multiplayer games. We go back to the previous multiplayer model. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. That game came out. You purchased the game for $60. You played multiplayer. You played it for a year and a half, 2 years. Then the new Call of Duty came out. If you wanted a new feature, if you wanted to have a different look to your player character, if you wanted a new gun that wasn't available in the previous game, you bought the next game. Not only was this game a new experience with new maps and new everything, you were willing to pay $60 for it, and it was a better, in my opinion, it was a better experience that way. I don't know though, because I don't play these free to play games. I think that they are not to beat a dead horse, but they're predatory. They are cash grabs, and at the end of the day, you are spending more money per year on these free to play games than you would if you were to spend $60 on a multiplayer game once a year. In my opinion, if you said a $15 free to play battle pass comes out once every 3 months and you do that 4 times, that's $60 just in the battle pass plus all the other additional stuff that you buy along the way. I don't get it. I really just I don't get it, and maybe we just need to see how this all plays out, because I don't think I have anything else to say.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever going to end, at least anytime soon. So I buckle your seatbelt, so to speak, because there's a lot more of these what's this game called? Roller Champions?
Roller Champions. And this is Ubisoft. And they also had that dodgeball game that came out. No, that's EA. The dodgeball game.
Yeah, that's an EA developed title.
Anyway, we have Roller Champions, the dodgeball game. Everybody's trying to be the next Rocket League because these games. It seems like these games are cheap to make. They're cash cows. They're cheap to make, and you can just go on and on and on with these new ideas until one of them hits, and then once you get the hit, it pays for all the other games that didn't, make you money back, and it'll pay for an entire generation of games, just like Apex is doing, just like Fortnite. Fortnite is transcending generations of games. It's really, really incredible. And you're right. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but I'm ready to move on. I do have an extra mic now because I bought a new mic, so I can throw this mic and kick it if I really have to, if we talk about this anymore. So, is there anything else you want to say about this? Because
I was going to say, all this talk about EA, sports games, free-to-play games, it's just really riling you up, I could tell.
It is. It is. I don't want to kick my new mic.
Yeah.
I think it's
for the sake
better,
of the... Yeah.
But I will. I totally will. Okay, so whoever wrote all this stuff up did a really nice job of segueing into a more positive EA spin. We have from Respawn Jedi Survivor, which is Jedi Fallen Order sequel. It was announced a few days ago, and it's coming. And they dropped a trailer for it on YouTube. Vinny, what do you have to say about this game?
I'm excited, man. I think this was something that everyone had to have known was coming. The original Jedi Fallen Order, correct?
Yes.
Is that yeah. I haven't played it in so long. Jedi Fallen Order is a fantastic game. I beat that game when it came out, and I replayed it when the next-gen versions came out, and it was just as good. Certainly way better, actually, in terms of 60 FPS. There's a 60 FPS out for that original game. But I'm very excited, man. This is from Respawn. I don't think they've released a game that I could say is bad. They're very high quality, probably the best developer within EA that I could think of as far as releases. So this is something that I'm very excited about. And this says 2023, correct? I believe was when they were going to release this, right? I think
yes.
Yeah, so it's not this year, which is good, to be honest with you. I'm a little Elden Ringed out, if you will. This game is going to play a lot like Demon Souls, a lot like Elden Ring. It is. It's almost, it's impossible not to compare the two. I think that, I'm as much Elden Ring as I've played, and I'm sure you have, it's okay to kind of step away from that. So this is one that I'm really looking forward to. I'm actually curious. Did you play the original Jedi Fallen Order? What'd you think?
Dude, I keep trying to get into it. Okay, I played the PS4 version, and I was just giving people so much crap for buying battle passes and stuff like that. But I literally have subscribed to EA Play because it's $5. I've done it like 4 times where I'm like, okay, EA Play, I'll download this game. I'm going to play it. I have a month to beat it. Let's go. And I don't beat it. Then I do it again. In like 6 more months, I go, all right, PS5 version, $5 for EA Play. Download it. Meanwhile, the game is on sale for like $10. I could have just owned the game outright. but
Wow.
whatever. I've tried it, like I said, probably 3 times, and something else always catches my eye. It's not that I don't like what's going on. It's not that I don't like it. It's just it's pretty difficult actually. I, as you know, can't really play games that are super easy, so I usually put my games on hard, and I have this game on hard because not, oh wow, I love playing hard games. It's so cool that I can play games on harder difficulties. I like to use the tools that they give you, and I feel like a lot of games on normal you can just coast and get away with not using the tools at your disposal, so to speak. So for that reason, I feel like I need to play most games on hard. Usually, whatever the one step above normal is, that's usually what I play the games on. And this game just kicked my ass, like over and over again on the hard difficulty. So maybe I'll go back, put it on normal. How did you? What did you play it on normal or did you play it on hard or how?
It's funny. It's funny that you say this because as you're saying it, I'm remembering my experience with this game, almost like just little like flutters of flashbacks of me playing Jedi Fallen Order, young Vinny, whenever this game came out, 2 years ago. I definitely started this game on hard,
Okay.
and there is a boss very early on that is fucking impossible. I can picture him perfectly in my head, and I want to say it's a frog. It's like a frog monster, and it's very early into the game. I had to change this game to normal. This was one that I played on normal. I was about to throw my controller, through the wall, playing this game on hard because you're right. This game is brutal, and I'm curious because you typically like that brutality of those
Yeah.
games, and they typically hold your attention because of that.
Yeah.
Do you think how did you feel about the game taking place in the Star Wars universe? Are you very attached to that universe? Is this something? Do you think that maybe if you had more of a childhood with Star Wars, because with me, I didn't grow up with Star Wars. I never watched Star
Right.
Wars until I was in like high school. Like those games don't really have a special place in my heart, so to speak. And I'm very jealous of those that that Star Wars is very important to them. So, do you
Sure.
think that setting had any impact on you going back to these games?
Um, I don't think we really have any subscribers or followers to lose right now. So I don't want to shit on Star Wars too bad, but hear me out. Don't X out of our video yet. Hear me out. I loved the original trilogy, 4, 5, 6. Loved those movies. I thought they were awesome. Um, I didn't see 1 and 2. I heard they were kind of like not really great. I thought episode 3 was very good, Revenge of the Sith. But then the new movies came out, and episode 7 was just too much of a ripoff of episode 4 for me to really enjoy. So ever since that movie came out, I kind of like just dumped Star Wars from my brain. And I don't know, man. Disney acquiring Marvel and Disney acquiring Lucasfilm and all this, like Disney owns everything now. Disney owns everything. So that it just has that, we talk about the EA stink. It kind of has like a similar taste in my mouth. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. As far as just overarching Star Wars universe, that's just how I feel. As far as Jedi Fallen Order as a game by Respawn, who is a really good developer, it's really good. I think it's really good. It clearly has a following, or we wouldn't have gotten a second game. I need to give it another go before the game comes out. And the 60 FPS mode, you're absolutely right. It ran like a dream, and it was a little bit too, I don't know, slow in the beginning. There's a lot of exposition in the beginning, and maybe that's the other reason I couldn't wrap my head around it, because I'm so far gone in the Star Wars universe that I don't care about the story anymore. It was really more about the gameplay for me. But I got to power through that initial 1 or 2 hours. If you make it a 4 year consideration, then I'm gonna have to play it. So maybe that's the workaround right there.
Yeah, I'll force you to play the game, but it's a
Yeah.
good point, man. Because the reason why I asked that question is because I had a similar issue with this, where I played for the gameplay, not necessarily the story. I don't necessarily care too much about Star Wars. I think that the humor in this game is in the original game is very yikes. Some of it is very cringy, and that's just Star Wars, and that's just Star Wars humor, so to speak. But yeah, I was just curious to see if that was an issue for you, because it certainly was for me, and I kind of had to, I essentially had to force my way through this one. But the gameplay was so good. There was enemy variety in that game that was awesome. It was actually, some of the Star Wars stuff was really cool when you got to fight it. So, yeah, I was just curious, man. But this is one that I think is on both of our radars, and I think that I'm curious. I'm curious to see how different this game is going to be. How are they going to get people like me and you? I know I beat the original one, but I kind of had to force my way through it. How are they going to get people like us to go get this sequel? I'm very curious.
I don't think they have to. I think that the Star Wars IP sells itself very clearly. Battlefield 1 and 2 are both disasters as far as I understand it. Battlefield 2, I think, being the much superior game after it had time to breathe with patches and stuff. But regardless, it's just like Call of Duty. That IP is going to sell you games no matter what. If they get you and they get someone like me, who isn't really a huge fan of Star Wars, to play it, that's just a bonus for them. In my opinion, I think those IPs sell themselves. I really do.
Yeah, I think we're going to get more of the same here rather than a leap in terms of gameplay or anything like that, for sure. I think we're in agreement there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll be similar, maybe more polished, maybe a little bit better. Whoever wrote this episode breakdown is just absolutely crushing it, because this is a perfect segue into our next topic, which is a Marvel topic, believe it or not. Thor: Love and Thunder released a new trailer, or Marvel Studios released a new trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, which is the new Thor movie that comes out July 8th. So that got me thinking. We've had Guardians of the Galaxy, we've had Spider-Man, we've had Wolverine that was announced. What would you like to see from a Thor video game? What kind of gameplay? What kind of atmosphere? Who would you want to develop it? I'm going to toss it to you, Vinny.
So let me just say this right off the bat. I think we're already getting it, Anthony, and I think it's a game that
Really
maybe went past you. And I can't believe you didn't think of this with this topic. We're getting our Thor game, baby. God of War Ragnarok. Thor is the Thor. Have you seen the images of Thor in this game?
No.
He looks so funny. I cannot wait. You need to really do yourself a favor. Do a quick Google of Thor Thor and God of War Ragnarok, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because I cannot wait to fight against Thor in this game. And they teased it at the end of the original God of War.
Oh, I have seen it.
And he is like a big brute. It's kind of a different take on Thor. I cannot wait to see him in this game. So I think we're already getting it. But with that being said, I do want a Thor game where I'm playing as Thor. I think that would be awesome. I think with the success of Spider-Man, we're going to start seeing a lot more sort of single-player superhero Marvel games. I think Marvel is wanting to do this. I think they're trying to hopefully find the right developers to do it. And if it's a Sony IP, or if it's a Sony first party that's doing it, which I think it would have to be, very similar to Insomniac, I think they would handle it with the utmost care. My mind went to Sucker Punch. I think Sucker Punch has proven to be an exceptional studio with Ghost of Tsushima, which they're likely working on the sequel. But man, could you imagine? I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, how beautiful that game is. I can only imagine what they would do with Thor. So that's where my mind went. I think from a gameplay standpoint too, they were really good with Ghost of Tsushima. That's why I kind of didn't pick, Naughty Dog or anything like that. I think those are a little bit slower paced, whereas a Thor game would need to be a little bit faster, a little bit snappier. And I'll tell you what, man, that's where my mind went. What about you?
I actually was thinking Eidos Montreal, who developed the Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, that game was so random how good that game was. It just came out of absolutely nowhere. I don't think it sold super well, which is a huge bummer, but it's very story heavy, but the gameplay is snappy too. The gameplay's sort of basic, I would say, but it's fun. It's really fun and very meta. And I think with movies like Thor Ragnarok, you get some of that tongue in cheek humor, and I think it would translate very well. Um, I just got a very similar vibe from Thor Love and Thunder that I got from Thor Ragnarok that I also got from this Guardians of the Galaxy game. I think it would be a great marriage. I don't know if Eidos Montreal gets another chance with a Marvel IP. Even though Guardians of the Galaxy was critically acclaimed for the most part, I don't think it sold super well. I'm pretty sure they lost money on it. So if I wasn't going to go with them, I would probably go with Sucker Punch. I think is interesting, but that's not the studio I was thinking of. I was thinking of, God, this is such a cop out though. Insomniac. Insomniac should, it should just make a Marvel
Just
studio.
just make
Because
every Marvel game Insomniac, please. Every one of them.
right, right. That's so boring though for me to say Insomniac but they obviously would nail it. You got that same tongue in cheek humor with Ratchet and Clank and it'd be perfect. But at the end of the day, I also wanted to say this. I appreciate off the air. Obviously, I'm not a super fan of Marvel. I don't follow all their movies and stuff like that. But let's just let the audience in on that. I sort of watch little. I pick the Marvel movies I want to watch. I sort of I have a lot of gaps in that timeline, and I missed the Avengers movies, and I don't know what's going on, and I would rather see a cinematic. I'm sorry, that's not the right word, but a overarching universe in a video game than I would in a cinematic universe, because for me, I spend more time with games and I would get more involved with those characters and that universe if I could play all these different IPs in a video game. For me, that's very selfish, I understand, but that's something that I would like to see. I want to see someone take on all these Marvel IPs. It's very enjoyable to play through, and more specifically the single player ones. I really like inhabiting these characters and getting in on their psyches. I think it's really interesting. Guardians of the Galaxy is very narrative dense, but in a good way. And it's also, you get into Star-Lord's character. You get into Peter Quill's backstory. And they do it in an interesting way. They do it in a very unique way. And I really want to see it again. And I don't think we're going to get it because I don't think that game sold well. It's a huge bummer, man. But you have anything else to say on this topic?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great choice. Guardians of the Galaxy was an awesome game. I still haven't beaten it. That's a game that I'm certainly going to go back to. That's also a very beautiful game. I think that game
played
is
it?
it's Oh yeah. I've played through probably about 8 hours of that game,
Oh, I
and
didn't
then I
know
just
you
got
played it that
sidetracked. Oh yeah. I've dove deep into that game, and it's fantastic. I mean, the writing is so good. It's very simple gameplay, like you said, but it's a lot. It's just one of those games that you kind of have a smile on your face the entire time that you're playing it. You're
I
just
hate to
having a
say it.
blast.
I really
And yeah,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna
Sorry.
say I think that it's better than the movie, like as far as individual characters. I really do.
It certainly brings that conversation up. It's not unfair to bring that conversation up, which alone is an achievement, because I think that nobody expected anything from that game, and man, it really was an exceptional game, or at least the portions that I played, and like I said, I'm very hopeful to go back to that game and beat it. I'm hoping for a sequel. But let me just say this also real quick before I guess we get off this topic. Another reason why I picked Sucker Punch. Their experience with Infamous. I think that's a studio that is likely,
Ooh,
they started off with Infamous. They did the
that's a
second
good
one.
point.
They essentially perfected their craft, in my opinion, with Ghost of Tsushima. Now let's go back to the superhero take. I'm sure they're kind of, itching to get back there and show, like, yeah, we can make the best superhero game. So that was just another thing that kind of went into my mind with Sucker Punch. But yeah, both great studios that I think are going to go on to, I think we both agree. Like you said, I don't think they're going to get another Marvel property for sure.
Yeah. As an aside, I will say Infamous Second Son, which was a release game for the PS4, it's very underrated. I thought that game was very good. A little short, but
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, a lot of fun for sure.
Okay, so our next topic is a fun one, I think. It is the PlayStation 5 lesser talked about features. Now, let me explain. Vinny and I have both had the PlayStation 5 for over a year, and we are still discovering new things that you can do on this completely, I don't want to say optional, but it's a luxury console. In the sense that you definitely don't need a PS5 yet. There aren't games like even God of War Ragnarok is going to be on PS4, which is sort of a bummer for us PS5 owners. But it's a luxury console, and recently we started to see some of these luxury features. I'm talking things that don't get enough credit. One of these things is the controller voice chat. Now, every once in a while, you want to hop into a game or hop into a party chat, and you just want to, mess around for a few minutes, show somebody something in a game or something like that, and you really don't want to go grab your headset. It might be dead. It might not be charged. You can actually use the controller to both use it. You can use it as a mic, but you can also receive the voice audio from the controller, and it doesn't come out of the TV. It just comes out of the controller. And I found this out recently because exactly what I said. I didn't want to grab my headset. I think Vinny and I were playing Elden Ring, and I just unmuted my mic, because you guys should be muting your mic if you don't, because it is always set to unmute. So I unmuted my mic. I was able to talk to him through the controller, and he talked to me back through the controller, which I thought it was going to come through the TV because that's normally how it's worked in the past. And I just thought this was a really cool feature. It was a really underrated feature. And yeah, that's my pick for one of the PS5 lesser talked about features. Vinny, do you have any comments on that feature? If not, give us one of your cool features on the PS5.
So I'm in complete agreement. I think that's an awesome, underrated feature. Controller voice chat. And a lot of times, like you said, you'll have no idea that it's even like on. And all of a sudden I hear your fucking voice through my controller. I'm like, holy shit, I'm talking to him right now. It's like, it's totally bizarre. It's a really bizarre experience doing that, but it's so cool to just be able to, if you're just in a quick chat, you don't even have to put your headset on. You're just literally talking through the controller. So very good choice. I'm in complete agreement there. I think my mind with this went to the SharePlay feature and kind of the upgrades to SharePlay. I think that we actually did this together with Elden Ring, where you were kind of trying to show me something, and we were trying to discuss where we were, and then we were like, oh, well, why not try SharePlay? You have the ability now, and I want to say that they marketed this, but maybe not. Maybe when I saw it, I figured to myself, I'm never going to use that. That's kind of like, why would I even want to do that? You have the ability to make the other player's game wherever you want it while you're playing your game. So you have the ability to kind of minimize it into a smaller screen. So I could be playing Elden Ring while watching you play Elden Ring in a way that is not annoying, if that makes any sense. I think that's an incredible feature, the SharePlay upgrade. You know what I'm talking about, right?
You're talking about the picture-in-picture feature, right? Where you can
Yes, yeah.
Okay. That is... I think we were both freaking out when we realized we could do that, because that is a cool feature, man. I remember this too. Vinny was watching me play Elden Ring in the bottom right corner of his screen, or top left or whatever. Like you said, you can flip it around. Like I was live streaming it or something, and vice versa. I was watching him play, and he was in the corner of my screen, and we were just talking and hanging out and doing some side quests in Elden Ring and stuff like that, and we could just see each other's gameplay. And I remember one time you were playing a boss or something. I think I was playing a boss, and you were just like roaming the map, and you were like, oh my god, I saw that. I started screaming because the boss like threw me up against a wall or something. It was I don't remember the specifics, but it was a really engrossing experience being able to, I've done that before where we've been in a party chat and we're just describing what the other person's doing, but it was so much more seamless to just play my game in a game like Elden Ring, where you can just sort of explore and there's a lot of downtime sometimes when you're on the overworld map, and just glance over in the corner of my screen and see what you're doing. It's really underrated and a really cool feature that I didn't
Yeah.
even I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm sure they did advertise it. Why wouldn't you advertise all the features on your new console? But I missed it. I definitely missed it, or we would have tried that a lot earlier. Um, yeah,
It's really cool. It just is, and like you said, very seamless and extremely underrated. Let me just say this while we're on this topic real quick, because this is something that I'm very passionate about that has just pissed me off since I've owned a PS5. The user interface of the PS5 is a fucking mess. They need to fix the user interface. I'm sorry, because you know where my mind went when as you were describing that is I was kind of thinking to myself like, yeah, I remember trying to find out how to do the actual share play. Like, where is our party? What is a game base? Why are we in a game base?
yeah. What is that?
And within the game, do you even know what it is? Because we've
No.
had PS5s for about a year and a half. None of us know what a fucking game base is. It makes no sense. That's the part of the UI that I'm actually referring to, is the game base aspect of the user interface. Can we please get a fix? Can we please just get a normal friends list that I could just invite someone to a party without a mess? It is a mess, Anthony, and I know I don't know how many. How much multiplayer you play. I know you're a very single player player, but I play a lot of multiplayer on my PS5, and I'm telling you, man, it is a nightmare getting in and out of parties. Even seeing what party you're in is a pain in the ass. So just wanted to throw that out there to all those Sony developers that are listening to our podcast. Go fix the game base. Get it the hell off the taskbar, because it doesn't make any sense. Everyone hates it. I've never heard anybody say, "Wow, what a feature this game base is." I've never seen anything quite like no. Just give me friends list, party chat, keep things simple. What are your thoughts on game base? Just out of curiosity, what do you think?
I don't. It just seems like an unnecessary layer to have. I mean, if we're in like a professional clan of video game players and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a good feature, but like,
Logging into game base now.
I don't.
Like, we don't need that.
I don't understand it, and it's really hard to get to your friends list. I don't know if any of my friends are online unless I click the home button, go to my friends list, open it up, and scroll through my friends list. I don't know if maybe I'm doing something wrong, but that's how I see if people are online. Like you said, I play a lot of single player, so it's not really a thing for me, but if I was a more multiplayer focused video gamer, I would be pretty PO'd about all this. Their UI is not as bad as I thought it was for the PlayStation 5 when I first got my hands on it, because there was like an adjustment period where it took me forever just to, like, so many keystrokes just to get to a different game, so many keystrokes to move around and click on Spotify or do this or that. But it's just different. It's just different than the PS4, I think. But it's inferior. If you gave me the PS4 UI on the PS5's hardware, I think I'd be happier with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I do like that the user interface is different, whereas I know for Xbox, when Xbox One jumped to Xbox Series X, it was the exact same. They didn't change a thing. So it's like you turned on your Xbox Series X and you didn't even know you had one, really, until you started playing the game. So I do like the idea of
what
kind of
box?
when I turn on your Xbox
Oh,
Series X.
we don't talk about this on that podcast.
I'm like,
No, I'm just kidding.
there's no way this kid doesn't know what an Xbox is.
No, let's give Microsoft
I'm
props.
just messing.
Microsoft
But
is doing a good job this generation. Of
they
consoles.
are. Pat on the back. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, man, I it's just a pet peeve of mine that I had to bring up with that share play, because I remember very distinctly it took like 20 minutes for us to figure out how the hell to get even into our party. So just something that was on my mind.
I have one more feature that I want to talk about, and then we can move on. Um, so when I got my PlayStation 5, my PS4 got demoted to my bedroom console, and I don't really play too much on my PlayStation 4 anymore, but what I do a lot on my PlayStation 4 is stream my PlayStation 5. And if you're on the same local network, it works almost flawlessly. You still have to have decent internet, but as long as there's no weird crap going on with my internet, it's usually pretty seamless. And I can, it's not something I'm going to do for a game like Elden Ring or a game that requires twitch reflexes like a Souls game, but there are so many situations. Like I was playing NHL and I wanted to trade for a player that the Rangers actually have in real life, and I just popped on my PlayStation 4. I was laying in bed. I made the trade. It took like maybe 10 minutes, and then I put it in rest mode from my bedroom. They're like turn-based games that I'll sit there and I'll play for an hour. It works really well. You can also do it the other way. You can also stream your PS4 games on your PS5. That works even better actually, which makes sense because the PS5 is a better piece of hardware. But just a feature that I use a lot that I didn't think I was going to use. Also use it a lot to add games to my download queue. My PS4 controller will be by my bed. I'll grab it, add a game to my download queue from the PS5, put everything back into rest mode, and be done with it. So I don't have to get up, go in the other room, or like grab my tablet and use it that way. So that's just another feature I thought was really, it works a lot better than I anticipated. Any comments on that or any other PS5 underrated features? Are you ready to move on, Vinny?
So I've never used that feature. I took my PS4 and I threw it in the dumpster the second that my PS5 showed up. So not aware of that feature whatsoever. I really, honestly, my PS4 is like just in, I think my parents' like closet somewhere. And the second that my PS5 showed up, it was like this is dead to me. This is just another dead piece of hardware. So I'm happy you found joy with that feature though, Anthony.
If anybody wants a free PS4, DM Vinny, and he will send it your way. Just make sure you pay for the shipping.
Okay. Yes, shipping and handling.
So the next topic we got is Forspoken. Okay, so there's an industry insider by the name of Nick Baker, and he has a podcast for Xbox era, whatever Xbox is, and he heard that Forspoken might be facing another delay, but not for development reasons. If Forspoken and Final Fantasy XVI released too close together, there's no doubt that Final Fantasy would destroy Forspoken's sales. This, of course, implies Final Fantasy XVI really will be coming towards the end of 2022. If this were to happen, Forspoken is supposedly going to get delayed into the new year. This is, again, courtesy of Nick Baker and GameRanks. Vinny?
So, this is a really interesting one because Forspoken, if I'm not mistaken, has already been delayed, right? Am I right? Wasn't it supposed to come out sooner than later this year?
Yes.
So, I am in full agreement here, though. I really am, because from the videos that I've seen of Forspoken, and I've been staying away from this game because I want to be, surprised when this game comes out, because I've heard nothing but good things, but I haven't seen a whole lot. I would be a little bit worried. Who's the publisher of Forspoken?
The publisher?
The publisher is
Square Enix.
It is Square. Okay, yeah. It is Square. Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. I didn't want to say I didn't want to say sorry. But I would push it out again. It's a new IP. Final Fantasy 16 is going to do bonkers numbers. They probably internally think that the two games are too similar. This happens all the time. Amazing video games fall by the wayside because of a similar game, perhaps of higher quality or maybe of a more well-established IP come out around the same time, and
Horizon.
it ruins the original Horizon. Look at Horizon, and what was the game that came out? Zelda, I think, came out around the exact same time.
Yeah, and then this time it was Elden Ring.
And then this time it's Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the original Horizon came out, I think, within a week of Zelda. And I remember it was like a whole thing. And I think this is something that sort of the higher-ups have to think about. I would consider delaying this game once more. I don't think that another delay for Forspoken is going to ruin it. I don't. If anything, it's going to allow the developer more time to polish the game. It's going to give... It sounds like Final Fantasy 16 is coming out this year, which is awesome. I don't know about you, but if these games come out in a short time frame, I'm more than likely just going to play Final Fantasy 16, and then we'll see how long that game is. I just think this is something that probably should happen if we're talking within a month, maybe even 2 months, Anthony. This is going to need some breathing room here for sure for Square. I think this is something that they need to think about, and if I was a higher up, I would definitely consider this and probably do it, to be honest with you. Because, and my last point before I let you go here, January, February, March, typically a quieter time, I would say. January in particular, there's not really a whole lot that ever really comes out in January. I know February, sometimes there's some bigger releases. I know we got Elden Ring this year, but I think all that stuff comes into play for these release dates. The fall is a scary time to release a new IP. It just is. There's so many games coming out, and it's not just Final Fantasy 16, but obviously this article refers to that, but there's a lot of competition out there. So what are your thoughts? What are you thinking about this?
I think January is an underrated month for game releases, first of all, because I think that you get a lot of the games that really push for that November, December release date and don't quite make it there coming out in January. So I don't think January is the slow month that it used to be. Having said that, as much as I hate to say it, I think you're right. I think if Final Fantasy 16 were to come out this year, Forspoken should be delayed to 2023. Oh, I hate saying that. It was supposed to come out in September, I think.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this game.
I am too. I'm really excited, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I've just heard nothing but great things about this game. Like really cannot wait for this game to come out and to see what people think and pick it up. But like you said, man, if you're going up against Final Fantasy 16, I don't think you have a chance. I really don't. I don't think you have a shot. Especially if internally Square is thinking this, that means they think these games are similar. They're going to be similarly advertised. They're going to be, very reminiscent of each other. So that to me is a huge red flag for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both action RPG sort of next gen games that I don't know, man. I am more excited for Forspoken than I am for Final Fantasy 16.
Wow.
I've been following this game since it was Project Athia or Athia, whatever they called it. But as soon as I saw that first trailer, I was hooked. It looks like everything that Final Fantasy 15 was trying to be. I don't know if I'm in love with the story, but the graphics, the gameplay especially, looks amazing. I would be very bummed out to see this game get delayed again, but I think it would be the right move if Final Fantasy 16 got delayed. I think you're absolutely right. I think that it would be the right move for Square. We'll see if Final Fantasy 16 is as far along as they think it is. That's really what it'll all boil down to. And they'll know by October when this game is supposed to come out now. They will know by October. It was supposed to come out already. It was supposed to come out on May 24th of this year.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man. It really is, because I'm starting to think this is going to happen, especially if it seems like Final Fantasy 16 is ready, which is mind-boggling to me because we haven't seen a lot of this game. So
I don't think it's as close as they think it is. I think it's wishful thinking. I don't Square has so much polish on their games that even when the game is complete, I don't think it's nearly as close to complete as they think it is. And this is obviously a generalization, but for the most part, say what you want about Final Fantasy 15, I thought it was ridiculously easy. But that game was very polished when it came out. There's some glitches here and there because it was the first time they did sort of an open world endeavor like that in a while. But yeah, I thought it was super polished. So I think that polishing stage of development might take longer than they think. I think that's where Forspoken is out. I think they're trying to, because if they were ready to go gold in May, then there's a good chance they're done with the major framework of the game and they're just working on polishing and getting glitches to go away. So we'll just have to wait and see. We will find out more, and then over the summer. I think by the end of the summer we'll know for sure.
Yeah, hopefully, man.
Yeah.
At some sort of state of play that you would imagine this will get announced, and we'll know more about Final Fantasy 16. That's going to be the big, the big unknown factor here is that game as far along as this article is leading us to believe. So we'll see.
I'm excited for 16 too. I don't want to downplay my excitement for that game. Just more excited for Forspoken. I think a new IP is interesting. But more on to release dates. We have a release date announced for Modern Warfare 2. This came out in the form of a YouTube video on May 24th. So this is a kind of bland release video, to be honest with you. Did you watch the video, Vinny?
Yeah, super generic. Not anything to note of in this trailer.
No gameplay. It's just like some drone footage of boats and stuff. Honestly, kind of lame. The logo is cool. I will say that. The Modern Warfare 2 logo is cool. It's an M and a W with the end of the M and the beginning of the W in green creating a 2. I think it's a really sharp logo, actually.
Oh yeah, Call of Duty always got some sharp logos over there, but this one in particular is definitely a standout. This is certainly some creative stuff that we're seeing here. But you know what's funny that I actually just thought of, and I didn't really even think of this when this was announced, but we've already had a Modern Warfare 2. This is the exact same. Am I wrong? This is the exact same name of the original Call of Duty Modern. It was Modern Warfare 2, and then we had Modern Warfare 3, and so it's funny that they're just retreading these names. I think it's the exact same name.
Well,
so I think that's pretty funny.
Yes, because Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the 2019 game, was called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Whereas the original Modern Warfare, this is already a mouthful, but the original Modern Warfare was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It was actually a different name.
Okay.
So you're right.
Okay.
This is the first time that it's going to be literally verbatim the exact same name.
Stuff. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Modern Warfare 2?
I don't have a lot of thoughts. I was hoping you could talk to us about this because I haven't played a Call of Duty game since Black Ops 3.
Okay. Yeah. No. Let me, because I do have a lot to say.
Okay. Good.
But the original Modern Warfare, the original, I should say. No, I'm just kidding. The newer Modern Warfare, the one that shipped 2 years ago, that has a fantastic campaign. That campaign is awesome. It is so good. It is such we're talking like top 3 Call of Duty campaigns ever. It is so grounded and realistic. It is an exceptional campaign. This one, I'm a little bit weary on. I'm a little bit nervous because it seems like I don't know what the development time has been for this game. For Infinity Ward, it seems like, I don't know if you noticed, there are a ton of internal studios at Activision working on this game. The original Modern Warfare, the one that came out 2 years ago, I'm gonna get to call it the new Modern Warfare. The new Modern Warfare was developed by Infinity Ward for 3 years. They had 3 years to make that game, which is kind of a normal time frame, to make a video game. Now, Call of Duties are typically cranked out every 2 years, but that game in particular was a 3-year development time frame, and it showed. The campaign was fantastic. The multiplayer was amazing. And then they released Warzone on top of everything, so it was a really well-made game. This game, I think there's like 6, 7, 8 different studios working on this, which gives me huge red flags here. So I'm a little bit worried on that aspect, but it seems like they're adamant about releasing this game. I don't know if you heard the news, but they're not releasing a Call of Duty next year. Next year's going to be the first time in like 20 years they're not releasing a Call of Duty. It's going to be so bizarre. That was announced last year, I believe.
Wow.
So it seems like this one is ready to go, though, because otherwise, why would they? Why would they push back the other ones so far? So, I think that was following the Microsoft acquisition. They decided to delay the next Call of Duty.
So they can sort of.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I'm certainly going to get it. I get every Call of Duty just to play the campaign for the most part. So I'm excited about it, but at the same time, I'm a little bit worried. And also, the last Call of Duty campaign was terrible. So that was Vanguard. It was not a good campaign. Not a good Call of Duty whatsoever. So, yeah. And then the one before that, Cold War, was okay. It was fine. But I don't know, man. I don't know about this one. I'm certainly going to pick it up. I'll put my impressions out here on the podcast. But I just a few red flags here that I'm concerned about.
The first Modern Warfare, 2019. Was that a new game, or is that a remake of Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare?
I want to say it's a remake / continuation, if you will. It's almost like a...
Interesting.
I think it's more of a remake, though, than anything. So
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily a continuation of that story arc, to my knowledge. It's definitely a remake because you play as Shepard or whoever it is, and he died in the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So it's more along the lines of a remake that kind of does a whole new thing with the same characters. So,
okay. Modern Warfare 2, coming out in October, will sort of parallel the original Modern Warfare 2. Is that what we're seeing here? Or?
I'm guessing. I'm guessing that's what they're going to do with this.
It's a little confusing.
It's hard to take a lot. Yeah, and it's so hard to take a lot from this trailer too. It's such a kind of a blah release trailer. Like you said, it's not an interesting trailer at all. I was expecting a little bit more when they announced the release date here. So
I think they feel that the gravity of the release date stands on its own. That's my guess, at least. Otherwise, I would have shown gameplay. Any other studio announcing a release date needs to show gameplay, but Activision, as a publisher, thinks they can get away with that. Maybe this is a new way of the future with Xbox acquiring Activision. Maybe this is sort of the direction they're going to go from a marketing perspective, but no doubt they already have some gameplay they could have showed us. So it is a little bizarre, and I don't know if it bodes super well for the game in that respect. Trying to distract us from the lack of gameplay with some cool drone shots.
Yeah, but some cool logo distracting us.
It's a nice logo. It's a nice logo. I like it. I'm good to move on if you are, Vinny.
Yeah. One other thing that I will say is this is supposed to launch, from what I've read, alongside Call of Duty Warzone 2. So it sounds like they're getting rid of... I don't even know if you've ever played Warzone. I've dabbled in it a little bit here and there, but this is going to release alongside a whole new Warzone. So they're getting rid of the old one, and it's going to be called Warzone 2. So I'll be interested to see what that's like as well. So
yeah, you're
something
speaking
to think of.
You're speaking a foreign language to me at this point. I don't I don't play Battle Royale. I don't get it. Don't comment in about it. So our last segment, as always, is for your consideration, where one of us gives the other a game to play, review, and get back to on. So this week, I am reviewing the game Celeste, which Vinny gave to me in the genre platformer. I beat it pretty quickly, and I had a pretty good time with it. So before we get into the Celeste review, I would love for Vinny to suggest a new game to me. As you should know, because you listen to every episode of our podcast, Vinny got the category shooter and the video game Deathloop last week. So Vinny, what do you got for me this week in the category shooter?
Okay, Anthony, so strap your seatbelts in, get ready, because we were talking about Respawn earlier. You said, "Wow, what a great studio." I heard you say it. You said it on this
Yeah.
podcast. It's quoted. So
Oh
I'm gonna
no.
have you. Our category is shooter. You're
Oh
gonna have to play Apex Legends for 8 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
no! Please don't do that to
No,
me. Please.
you're gonna. I'm giving you the Titanfall 2 campaign. It's a
Oh man. Okay.
nice,
That's better than
wonderful
Apex Legends.
campaign. It's oh jeez. It's a great campaign. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about this one. I think it's an underrated gem. It really is. It is a fantastic campaign. So I'm hoping I'm not even hoping. I think you're going to really like it. I think you're going to have some positive reception towards this one. What are your thoughts on me giving you Titanfall 2? Or would you rather have Apex? Because I can do that.
No,
also.
no, 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 no. I think that was a really, really unique strategy, telling me that you're going to give me Apex Legends to get me to look forward to Titanfall 2 more. I, yeah, no doubt this is supposed to be an awesome shooter. Is it a cover shooter? Because I am not really into cover shooters anymore. I'm so spoiled by Doom and Doom Eternal, and I would even say Deathloop to a lesser extent. But I'm so spoiled by these games. I like fast, frenetic shooters, so I'm a little apprehensive on this one. But okay,
Yeah.
I'll
This
I'll check
this
it out.
game does a lot of. It's very unique in a lot of ways. So I think you're going to
Okay.
appreciate that aspect about it. It's not just any Call of Duty, campaign. It's nothing like that. So
I will say I would never have touched this game again. I have it. I played like an hour of it. If it wasn't for this segment, I wouldn't have ventured into that game again. So I guess I have an open mind. I guess I have to. Let's see if it can blow me away. I don't know. I'm a little
oh, it will.
skeptical.
It will.
Dude, Doom
It will blow
Eternal is
you away.
just so good. I just it's really hard for me to come up to that level as far as gameplay after playing Doom Eternal. All right, cool. So I am forced to play Titanfall 2 now. That's great. Let's get into my Celeste review. Just thank you for not making me play Apex Legends. I would have absolutely.
Maybe next time.
I would have started crying. Okay, Celeste. Still trying to figure out how we should do the formatting for this as far as spoilers and stuff like that. This game, it has a very good story. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm going to do a spoiler-free little one-off right now. I'm going to say Celeste, platformer, amazing platforming, story, really tight, really enjoyable, little bit open to interpretation, but in a good way. This is one that you need to check out, I would say. I definitely recommend it. And I don't want to say too much more than that. If you like platformers, you're going to love this game. And let's get into it. Spoiler alert. Deep dive in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so when you die in the very beginning of the game and become a ghost. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let me say this real quick, Anthony. Before
Okay, go
I
ahead.
guess you
Go
dive
ahead. Go
in.
ahead.
I recommended this game to you because I kind of know you as a player. Okay, I know you like difficulty.
Right.
Check. Let's just put 5 checks next to that because this game's hard as fuck.
Super hard. Super hard.
Okay, I recommended it to you also because I think this is a unique story, and like you said, it's open to interpretation, but it's a unique way in the way that it tells its story. It's something that I really hadn't experienced before. So, what do you think about those elements of the game? Talk me through your experience. What do you have for me?
Okay, so let's start with difficulty. So I think what you're getting at is that you think you picked a good game for me. I think you're right. I love a good difficulty. I love a game that respects your abilities as a player, and this game does that. What I will say about Celeste that makes it so special from a gameplay perspective, it keeps you on the hook. You do not want to put the game down because the challenges, while they are extremely difficult, present themselves in very small, segmented ways. What this means is you could die 50 times and not want to give up because you know you are so close to getting to the next part of this game. And that makes it so clever from a story perspective as well, because the story is about climbing a mountain, and the mountain is sort of symbolic for, fear, anxiety, mental health, and part of that is falling and getting back up again. And the game has a connection point between gameplay and story in this falling and getting back up again way. It is extremely clever and extremely well done. That is a huge, 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 probably my favorite part of the game is that sort of symbolism where you come into it being pretty bad. Let's be honest. Nobody comes into this game and is just immediately tearing it up and just destroying every single challenge that comes their way. You get a jump and you get a dash. That's the entire game. And a grab. That's the entire game. That's it. You get new mechanics here and there, but a jump and a dash. That is Celeste. And did you experience the same sort of feeling of trial and error, but in a good way, I should say, of failure and repeated failure that ultimately led to your success? Did you experience that too? Because that's what I think the game was doing.
Yeah, man, and that's part of that experience. And the fact that one thing that kind of stood out to me with this game is that, like you said, you respawn instantly when you die,
Right.
which just makes things so much better. It makes dying feel a lot less just stressful, right? Now this game is super stressful. I don't want to act like it isn't, but the fact that you respawn immediately, you kind of have that, like you said, it goes along with the story of kind of climbing this mountain. This is a character that's undergoing obviously a lot of fears, a lot of anxiety, things of that nature, and I think that dying over and over and over again, which you will when you play this game, is a part of that experience. It's a part of the story. It kind of adds to that effect. And then also, like you said, it's in small segmented sections. There aren't really long sections to this game, right? In terms of the respawn, element. Like you're not required to do like 100 things and then you get a new respawn point. Nothing like that. It's usually one challenge and then you're on to the next point and so on and so forth. So yeah, man, it definitely adds to the quality of this game for sure. I love the fact that you respawn immediately because like you said, I would have put this game down if it was like loading screen after every death or something of that nature. So it definitely adds an element to the game that is warranted and very appreciated for sure. Yeah.
It wouldn't work at all if there was a loading screen involved or if the platforming wasn't completely as tight as it possibly could be. Because when you die, it is your fault. When you die in this game, it is your fault. That is what makes it so addictive because you are trying to get over your own lack of skill, for lack of a better word. You're trying to get over your inexperience with the mechanics of the game, just like you're trying to climb this mountain. And there's a part in the game between Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 where you literally fall to the middle of the mountain, the bottom of the mountain, but it's like in the middle, I guess, in a jungle or something. And it is a metaphor for every single little segment of the game that you've been doing where you jump, you fall, you try again. You jump, you fall, you try again. You jump, you fall, you try again. And the game literally does that on a macro level between chapters 5 and 6. Very, very cool. I think Matty Thorson knocked it out of the park with this game. That is the developer of the game. And before that, they developed, I want to say, Towerfall, right?
And yeah, they made Towerfall originally, and then followed it up with Celeste. What a pedigree right there. I mean, those are two fantastic games. I don't know if you played any Towerfall, have you?
Yeah. Towerfall was a free game of the month for PlayStation Plus. I think we played it together. I think we had like one of those drunk gaming sessions back when we were in our early 20s, and that was something that we did. drank a couple beers, played Towerfall. It was a great time. It was, and that game was, the controls in that game were just as tight as they are here in Celeste. So Celeste just builds on what Matty Thorson was already able to do in their previous game, which is, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I do want to say this. The final level is so freaking impossible, man. Like what, like you're you jump to like this part of the map, right? And you're like, where do I go? You have to climb the mountain. You have to reach the summit. You're like, where do I even, I don't even know where to go. And then you go, wait a second. Do I have to go to that little ledge right there and hang on like by my pinky finger? And sure enough, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And you go, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it is so comical. You look at it and you think to yourself, "There's no way that's what it is. Like, there's no
right,
possible way."
right.
I very distinctly remember saying that at least more than a couple times in this game, where it's like, "No fucking way!" You know, you kind of say it out loud, like
Right.
you almost laugh. Like you really, literally, the only thing you can do is laugh as to how difficult it is,
Right.
because it just really challenges the player. It really makes you. It really challenges your abilities there.
But
No question about it.
what makes it so brilliant is by the time you've gotten through the majority of the game, you've developed the skill to beat it. That's what's so brilliant about this game. It's the whole game is a metaphor for overcoming, as far as I understand it. That's the way I interpreted it, at least. It's a game about overcoming mental illness or anxiety and panic disorder. And the way that you do that is by climbing this mountain and acquiring different coping skills, let's say. And the coping skills parallel the platforming skills. So when you're climbing the mountain at the end, you are climbing the mental struggles that you're going through. Now, one criticism I have of the story is that it's a little bit too on the nose for me. It's a little bit too this is about panic attacks. This is about anxiety disorder. Here you go. It could have served from a little bit more mystery in that department, in my opinion. Like sometimes I wish that. So Madeline struggles with her anxieties and panic attacks, and she tells you that up front. It's a little explicit for me in that way, meaning it's a little too on the nose. I thought it was a really cool little section to sort of give you an idea, a simulation of a panic attack when you have to keep that leaf, or not the leaf, the feather in the middle of the screen. I thought that was really cool. That was really brilliant. And Theo is a cool character that helps Madeline sort of see her problems at face value, see them for what they are, not for something bigger than they are. The expression making a mountain out of a molehill, I think, is very applicable to this game, because you're literally climbing a mountain that you've sort of created in your head, because there's no reason Madeline needs to climb this mountain. She just wants to. And that to me is a cool, intriguing part of the story. She just wants to do it. The characters challenge her all the time. Why are you trying to climb this mountain? Why are you trying to climb this mountain? Because I have to prove to myself that I can, is pretty much all she can say. Great game. Not going to do a number rating either. But I definitely, it's definitely up there in the platforming genre for me. The game that I sort of compare it to in my head the most is Super Meat Boy.
Yes. I see that comparison for sure. Yeah. That's an interesting comparison.
Because Super Meat Boy has the same, like, you die, you try again, you die, you try again, you die, you try again. But I thought this was way better than Super Meat Boy. Way more, I don't know if it's better, it's more enjoyable. Super Meat Boy I never beat because it gets just ungodly in the difficulty department.
Laughable.
The difficulty in that game is it's not as earned as it is in Celeste. That's what makes Celeste's difficulty so perfect, is it is earned. The developer makes sure that you have the chops to climb the mountain at the end of the game. Great game. Highly recommend it. Thank you for suggesting it, Vinny. You got to get on Deathloop and finish playing Deathloop for next week. How are you enjoying that game so far? Do you have any comments, or do you want to save them?
I'll save them. I will say this one thing that, and I think I briefly touched on this very quickly, which is that I played Deathloop, I think, for an hour. prior to our for your consideration take, and then I stopped, and I couldn't remember why.
Yeah.
And I will say this, I think the reason why I didn't go through with it, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, is when games give you too much just text about what's going, or like too many variables, if you will, or too much tutorial in text form. I do not particularly enjoy that. So I was actually just playing through it, and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, why did I stop doing this? And it's because there's a lot of text that you have to read through. But this game's awesome. I'm excited to give more thoughts on it. But that was just something that stood out to me.
That's something that I agree with, and that's something that I actually mentioned to you up front, that you got to get past the first couple hours of game. It's necessary, I would say. I know we haven't been giving number reviews, but Deathloop to me is a 10 out of 10. If I had to give, it's that good. So stay tuned for that next week. And Vinny, try and assassinate all, what is it, 7?
It's 8. Well, 8.
Oh,
yeah.
Forget it. You're never going to be able to do that. Try and kill all 8 of the bad guys. I don't remember what they're called in that game. It's been a little while, but try and do that before next week at this time. And
okay, I'm on it.
That is it for this episode of the PSBlue podcast. Thank you, as always, if you've made it this far. Do not forget to check us out on YouTube. We are also on every podcasting platform you can imagine. If you create a podcasting platform, we will upload to that one as well. So let us know if we're not on a platform, because we need to be on it. That is it for me. Vinny, do you have anything else to say to these lovely people before we sign off?
No, go get some sleep. I'm about to go to sleep, so there you go.
You heard it here first, folks. Go get some sleep. Have a good one.